Hey, what up, y'all? It's Flames Trading. Today, I'll go ahead and showcase you some of the best ETFs available for high growth. So, for those that don't know what an ETF is, it's basically an exchange traded fund, which is a type of investment and exchange traded product. They're traded on stock exchanges, and they're basically similar to mutual funds, except that ETFs are bought and sold throughout the day on stock exchanges, while mutual funds are bought and sold based on the price at the end of the day. So ETFs basically include like a basket of stocks, bonds, or currencies, as well as commodities such as gold bars. And most ETFs can also be index funds in the sense that they hold the same securities as some of the stock market exchanges, such as the Nasdaq, the S&P, or the bond market indexes. They give you good exposure to different markets like the American markets without actually having to buy each individual stocks. And since stocks can be like over 500 or 1000, this gives you a really nice cheap exposure to them, as well as avoiding those currency fees if you are a Canadian or a different country investor. Alright guys, for the first ETF I have for you is BetaPro S&P 500 2 times daily bull ETF with ticker symbol HSU. So this is a really nice ETF because it gives you 2 times as much exposure to the S&P 500, and we can see from the S&P 500 it's always been going up. So even if we see a market crash, it continuously does well. So we saw this during the COVID crash, it went back up. So this is a good ETF to hold for the long term, as US economy has always been going up even after major crashes. So in terms of its holdings, it just follows the S&P 500, and its performance has been pretty insane. For the year, it would have doubled your money had you been invested in the last year, and for the past 3 years, it's also had a 24.63% return. And it's done relatively well for this year as well, already having a 21.85% return on your investment. So we can see that it does relatively well in the last 10 years as well, with only a few years where it went negative. This primarily has to do with the fact that when the market is down, it also does negatively in that regard, as it follows the S&P 500. Alright, the next index I have for you guys is the Invesco QQQ Trust. So this is an index that has done really well in the last year or so with how good tech stocks have done. So basically their major holdings are in Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, giving you good exposure to these high US tech companies. And these stocks have done really well in the last upcoming year. If you haven't seen my video, I did a growth stock video, and half of these stocks were there. So these stocks are really good, and they give you good exposure to some of the US stocks without you actually having to purchase them yourself and do the currency trade. If you are in the Canadian market and you want to purchase this stock, go ahead and just do QQC-F.TO. So this is a ticker symbol, and this gives you the exact same exposure as you can see right here, giving you a good amount of these stocks in your Canadian portfolio. So in terms of performance, the stock has done relatively well. We can see that it's been green for almost all of its years from 2010, and it has an annual growth rate of at least 26.6% in the last 3 years, and in the last year it also had a 56% growth, as well as for this current year 2021 it's already had an 8% growth. So this is a ETF that does relatively well, and it's a really high growth ETF for the US markets. So the next ETF I have for you guys is Global X Video Games and Esports ETF, ticker symbol HERO. So this is an ETF that has done really well during this year. With the pandemic, everybody staying in, and gaming as well has increased during this year. But this is an industry that's going to continuously grow in the upcoming years, and this ETF gives you good exposure to some of the best gaming and esports stocks. So if we go ahead and look at their holdings, we can see that Nvidia Corp is their biggest holding with 6%, Activision as well. Nintendo is another name that comes to mind. So they hold a lot of these esports gaming that provide software for e-gaming as well as esports. Looking at the performance for this ETF, we can see that this ETF has done relatively well. In 2020, it had a gain of 90.95%, so almost doubling your money with this ETF, and it continues to grow during this year with 6.56 growth already for this year 2021. And this is basically ETF that, if you believe in the gaming industry, which I do, and it has high potential to increase a lot in the upcoming years as more and more people continue to game, as well as the industry continues to grow. Alright, for the next index I have for you guys is Evolve Automobile Innovation Index Fund. this index fund, ticker symbol CARS .to, goes ahead and follows some of the best autonomous electric drivetrains as well as network connected service businesses for automobiles. So their holdings include Microvision, Volkswagen, and Nvidia Corp as well. So these Porsche as well. So it's also some of the semiconductors. So this index has been doing really well this year as well. If we go ahead and look at its performance, we can go ahead and see that. So if you look at its yearly return, it's had a 153% increase for this year alone. That's insane. You would be almost tripling your money if it goes to 200%. So that's really nice to see. Also, if you look at its 3-year return, it's almost at 40%. That's a really nice return. And currently, it's only had a 1.3%. So this kind of has to do with the fact that in February we had a really rise up in the market, and then EV has went down from there. So it gives you a good opportunity to buy this ETF while EV sector is down, because EV is the future for sure. So this index is really good growth in the fund to hold for the long term. Alright guys, for my final ETF, this is a American ETF. It's ARK ETF, ARKK, so the ARK Innovation ETF. I really like this ETF because it gives you really a good exposure to some of the best innovative companies that are increasing at a really rapid pace. There is risk involved in this ETF because most of their holdings are not companies that are profitable. So you want to be a little bit careful with this. And their biggest holding is Tesla, which has done really well. But this is also managed by Cathie Wood. But this is an ETF that has done really well in the last year or so, as well as previously. So it has gotten a lot more attention right now. So if we just go ahead and look at their performance, we can see that in 2020 they had 150% growth, which is really good. Also in 2017 they also had 87% growth, and even 2018 when the market was mostly negative, they still managed to become positive. So that's always nice to see. And as you can see right now, it is continuously down for the year. So that gives you a good buying opportunity. It was up at around 150 at its peak, or a little bit more than that when Tesla was really high up. But with the EV falling as well as the tech industry getting a little bit of rebound, this ETF is giving you a good opportunity to buy right now at a discount for sure. Alright guys, thank you for watching. So overall, ETFs are really nice because they give you exposure to the different types of markets such as the US without having to actually go ahead and trade your currency as a Canadian investor. They also give you these stocks without having to buy them each individually, and they have shown a good track record for success in the long term. So if you want to just go ahead and dollar cost average or just lump sum invest at every year, that's a really good, nice way to increase your investments without actually having to do all the research and going into detail about investing. These have shown to do really well for people who invest yearly, and their track record for ETFs have been really nice as well for the long term, as the US economy has done really well in that regard. Alright guys, if you want to see more videos like these, like and subscribe is much appreciated. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day.